December 10th, 1944. 0445 hours. Hürtgen Forest, Germany. Temperature 18 degrees Fahrenheit. Visibility 200 yards in pre-dawn darkness that clung to the frozen pines like smoke. Staff Sergeant Thomas Merrick, 24 years old, from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, lay in a foxhole that smelled of wet earth and cordite. His Springfield .03A4 sniper rifle extended over the lip of frozen dirt, aimed at a German observation bunker 580 yards distant. Through his scope, he watched 7 German soldiers emerge for shift change. 7 men stepping into the cold morning air breath, visible as white vapor, completely unaware that death was watching them through carefully aligned glass and brass. The rifle had something attached to its barrel, something that made no military sense whatsoever, something that supply sergeants had laughed at when they saw it, something that German intelligence officers would later photograph, analyze, and completely fail to understand. It had cost $0 to make. In the next 90 minutes, Tommy would fire 31 times. 31 Germans would fall. Not one German soldier would locate his position. Not one would hear the shots that killed them. The Germans had a name for him now. Der stille Tod. The silent death. By December 11th, German battalion intelligence would transmit this report. Enemy sniper using unknown suppression technology. Sound signature minimal to non-existent. Request immediate technical analysis and counter-sniper reinforcement. They were half right. There was a suppressor. But it wasn't technology. It was something from the mess hall. Something American soldiers threw away every single day. Something so absurd that when Tommy first suggested using it during sniper training at Camp Perry, Ohio, his instructor had written "joke answer" in the margin of the training report. 43 Germans would die in the next 48 hours because of that joke. But to understand how a farm boy from Idaho built the most effective improvised sniper weapon of World War II, we need to go back to the moment when everything conventional failed, 6 months earlier. Normandy, France, summer 1944. Tommy Merrick was a good sniper. Not great. Good. 37 confirmed kills over 5 months. Respectable numbers. The average for American snipers in the European theater was 32 for the entire war. His weapon was standard issue. Springfield .03A4 rifle with an unearthly 8-power scope. Reliable. Accurate. Effective to 600 yards. He worked methodically. 1 shot, 1 kill, then immediate displacement to avoid counter-sniper fire. Professional. Efficient. Unremarkable. By November 1944, the 4th Infantry Division was grinding through the Hürtgen Forest. 50 square miles of dense pine along the German-Belgian border. Trees so thick that visibility rarely exceeded 50 yards. Weather that alternated between freezing rain and snow. American casualties were catastrophic. The 28th Infantry Division had lost 6,184 men in 10 days. Men who had survived Normandy were being shredded by an enemy they couldn't see. November 28, 1944. Everything changed. Tommy was observing a German artillery emplacement when the world exploded. German counter-battery fire. 105mm shells walking through the forest. Tommy dove into his foxhole. The 3rd shell hit close enough that the blast wave lifted him off the ground and slammed him against frozen earth. When the shelling stopped, Tommy checked himself. No blood, no shrapnel. Incredible luck. Then he looked at his rifle. The Springfield was functional, but the unearthly scope was destroyed. Front lens shattered, tube bent, mounting bracket twisted 30 degrees off-center. Without the scope, the rifle was useless for long-range precision work. The supply sergeant had no solution. "No replacement scopes available, Merrick. Whole division is short on optical equipment. You want to keep sniping, you'll have to figure it out yourself." For most soldiers, this would have ended their sniper career. Accept the limitation, return to close-range combat like everyone else. But Tommy had two advantages. First, his vision was exceptional, 20/10 in both eyes, natural visual acuity that couldn't be trained, only inherited. Second, he had grown up in a place where you learned to fix anything using whatever materials you could find. Because there was no money to buy replacements. Because survival in rural Idaho during the Depression meant solving problems with your hands and whatever scrap you could scavenge. Tommy returned to his foxhole that night with a notebook and a pencil, began sketching designs, drawing crude diagrams of optical assemblies. Corporal Jimmy Castellano shared the foxhole. Brooklyn native, quick with a joke, reliable in combat. He watched Tommy work by candlelight. "What are you doing, Merrick?" "Building a scope." "From what?" "Whatever I can find." Jimmy laughed. "You're going to build a sniper scope? In a foxhole? In Germany? In winter? Using trash?" "That's right." "You're out of your mind." Tommy looked up. His face was serious. "Maybe, but I'm good with my hands. Always have been." But where did that confidence come from? That absolute certainty that he could fabricate precision optical equipment from salvaged materials in a combat zone? The answer lay 6,000 miles away, in a childhood that had taught him one fundamental lesson. Nothing is impossible if you're willing to work long enough and think hard enough. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, starting in 1932 when Tommy was 12 years old. Population 3,700. A logging and mining town where the sun disappeared behind the western ridge at 3 o'clock every winter afternoon. Tommy's father, Samuel Merrick, worked underground in the silver mines. The work was dangerous. The pay was minimal. Samuel came home each evening covered in rock dust, exhausted from 10 hours of physical labor. But he never complained. His wife, Catherine, had died from influenza in 1927, leaving him to raise Tommy alone. He taught his son one rule that shaped everything that followed. "Waste a bullet, waste money we don't have. Miss the deer, the family goes hungry. Make every shot count." By age 12, Tommy was hunting alone, bringing home venison and elk that supplemented their diet. His shooting was precise because it had to be. Ammunition cost money. Missed shots meant wasted shells. But what made Tommy different wasn't just his shooting ability. It was his refusal to accept that broken equipment meant the end of hunting season. Age 14. Tommy's rifle stock cracked. Most boys would have asked for money to buy a replacement. Tommy didn't tell his father. Samuel was working double shifts because a cave-in had killed 2 workers. There was no money for repairs. Instead, Tommy found salvaged walnut hardwood at the lumber mill, spent 40 hours over 2 weeks carving a new stock, using hand tools, chisels and rasps, fitting the wood to the metal receiver by feel. The finished stock fit better than the factory original. Samuel examined it one evening. "You made this?" "Yes, sir." "Without telling me?" "Didn't want to worry you about money." "You're good with your hands, Tommy." "Have to be, Dad. We can't afford not to be." Age 16. The iron sights on his rifle bent after a fall. Tommy didn't take it to a gunsmith. He fabricated new sights himself, using brass from spent shell casings, a grinding wheel in the school machine shop, geometry to calculate sight heights. The finished sights were more precise than the factory originals. His groups at 100 yards shrank from 4 inches to 2 inches. This mindset was forged in Idaho poverty. Every broken tool was a challenge. Every damaged piece of equipment was an opportunity to learn. But there was another skill Tommy learned, one that would prove even more valuable: the skill of killing silently. Fall 1938. Tommy was 18 years old. Their neighbor, Dutch Henderson, was 72, World War I veteran who rarely discussed his service in France. One October afternoon, Tommy was hunting ground squirrels destroying the family garden. The squirrels were clever. Shoot one and the others would scatter into their burrows. Dutch watched Tommy for a while, then walked over. "You know there's a trick for that, if you need to take multiple shots without spooking the rest." "What trick?" "Something we used in France, 1918, when you needed to fire without giving away your position to the Germans. A silencer. Those are illegal." Dutch smiled. "Don't need a silencer, just need a potato." Tommy thought Dutch was joking. "A potato?" "That's right. Carve it out proper. Attach it firm to the barrel. It'll muffle the sound enough that the other animals can't tell where you're shooting from. Won't make it silent. Just quiet. Confusing." "That's insane." Dutch shrugged. "Maybe. Or maybe I used it to kill 3 German sentries in one night without alerting their company." "How does it work?" "Potatoes got dense cells full of water. When the bullet passes through, the expanding gases get absorbed. Reduces the muzzle blast from a sharp crack to a muffled pop, like a branch breaking under snow weight." Tommy tried it that afternoon. He selected a large russet potato from their root cellar, carved out the center with his pocket knife, leaving walls about an inch thick, secured it to the rifle barrel using strips of cloth and twine. He took position near the garden. A squirrel appeared 40 yards away. Tommy aimed carefully, squeezed the trigger. The rifle recoiled familiar against his shoulder. But the sound was wrong. Instead of the sharp crack that normally echoed across the valley, there was a muted pop. Dull, brief. The squirrel fell instantly. 3 other squirrels that had been watching didn't scatter. The sound hadn't triggered their flight response. Tommy worked the bolt, fired again. Another muted pop. Second squirrel down. After the 4th shot, the potato was smoking and fragmenting. But 4 shots from one position. 4 dead squirrels. Normal hunting would have gotten him 1 before the rest went to ground. Over the next 3 years, Tommy refined the technique through systematic experimentation. Russet potatoes worked best. Dense, uniform cellular structure. Fresh potatoes were essential. Dried or frozen would shatter. 3 to 4 shots before heat degradation. Attachment method mattered. Firm but not constricting. This was pure practical hunting technique. Nothing military. Just a farm boy trying to take multiple deer from the same area without alerting the herd. The idea that this would have military applications never crossed his mind. December 7th, 1941. Pearl Harbor. Tommy enlisted January 3rd, 1942. The recruiter noted his occupation logger and hunter, suggested sniper training. Basic training at Fort Lewis confirmed his ability. He qualified expert on his first range session, 238 out of 240. But what separated Tommy from other marksmen wasn't just accuracy, it was fieldcraft, the ability to move without sound, to read wind and weather, to remain motionless for hours. These were skills that couldn't be taught in 8 weeks. They required the thousands of hours Tommy had accumulated in Idaho forests. Sniper school at Camp Perry provided advanced training. He excelled in every category, graduated second in his class of 32. During one tactical exercise, students were asked how they would eliminate multiple sentries without alerting the garrison. Tommy suggested shooting through a noise suppressor. Lieutenant Harland looked skeptical. "We don't issue suppressors to snipers." "Don't need a military suppressor, sir. A potato works just as well." The classroom went silent. Students laughed. Harland's expression hardened. "We deal in real equipment here, Merrick, not farm tricks." He wrote in Tommy's evaluation, "Joke answer, lacks seriousness." Tommy learned a lesson. Don't share unconventional ideas with conventional minds. Let results speak for themselves. He shipped to Europe in June 1943. First combat came June 6, 1944, Utah Beach. Over the following months, he earned a reputation as one of the division's reliable snipers. Steady, professional, competent. By December 1944, Tommy had 37 confirmed kills through conventional sniping. Respectable, but not exceptional. What would happen in the Hurtgen Forest would change those numbers dramatically. November 29, 1944. One day after his scope was destroyed, Tommy began searching the battlefield for materials. The Hurtgen had been contested for 2 months. The forest floor was littered with destroyed equipment. He found his primary lens in a destroyed German artillery position. A Zeiss telescope with a 40mm objective lens intact. German optics. Some of the finest optical manufacturing in the world. He found the ocular lens in abandoned German binoculars. 8 by 30 magnification. For the mounting system, he collected brass shell casings. Spent 30.06 rounds. The casings nested inside each other, creating a telescoping tube. Rubber gaskets from a destroyed gas mask. Copper wire from a broken field radio. Total cost $0. Military equivalent $2,400. That evening, Tommy worked by candlelight. Jimmy watched with fascination. Tommy used his trench knife as a cutting tool, sliced each brass casing to precise lengths, created a telescoping assembly, 5 brass sections with rubber gaskets between each for shock absorption. The German lenses fit almost perfectly, some adjustment with copper wire shims. It looked like something a child would build from a junk drawer. After 4 hours, Tommy had created something that might work, or might be useless. Captain Richardson stopped by, stared at Tommy's creation. "What is that Merrick?" "Sniper scope, sir. Made from salvaged materials. German optics, brass casings, rubber gaskets. That thing will never hold zero." Tommy looked up. His voice was calm. "Then I'll adjust it, sir. Been doing that my whole life." December 1st. Tommy test-fired his improvised scope, 600 yards to the nearest German position, a German soldier smoking near a bent tree. Tommy settled into position. The image through his homemade optics was clear. Not perfect, but sharp enough for precision shooting. He aimed center mass, compensated for wind and bullet drop. The Springfield recoiled. Through the scope, still trained on target, Tommy watched the German soldier collapse instantly. Tommy wrote in his combat notebook, "Shot 1, 600 yards, confirmed kill, scope holding." Against all probability, the garbage scope worked. Over the next week, Tommy used his improvised optics for conventional sniping. 23 confirmed kills. The scope required minor adjustments every 20 to 30 shots, but it held 0 well enough. But Tommy noticed a persistent problem. Even at 600 yards, the Springfield's muzzle blast was audible. Germans could locate his position after 2 to 3 shots. That forced constant displacement. Displacing in the Hurtgen was dangerous. Dense woods. German patrols everywhere. December 7th. Evening. Tommy sat cleaning his rifle. Jimmy shared the position. "You know what's crazy?" Jimmy said. "That scope you built works better than the official one." "Works well enough. Still got to move after every couple shots, though. They can hear you shooting." Tommy froze. "Say that again." "They can hear the shots, so you have to move." "They can hear it." Tommy's mind raced. The homemade scope let him see at 600 yards. But the muzzle blast gave away his position. What if he combined the scope with the other technique, the potato suppressor from Idaho hunting? Suppress the sound. Stay in position longer. Take multiple shots without revealing location. It was ridiculous, using a vegetable as a weapon suppressor. But it had worked on ground squirrels and deer for 6 years. Why wouldn't it work on German soldiers? Tommy pulled out his notebook, started writing frantically. Calculations, estimates. Jimmy watched. What are you doing? Figuring something out. Want to share? Not yet. Might not work. If it does, you'll see tomorrow. December 8th would prove whether Tommy's crazy idea could work in combat, whether a farm boy's hunting trick could kill trained German soldiers, whether a potato could become the deadliest weapon in the Hurtgen forest. That opportunity came at 0300 hours on December 8th, when Lieutenant Marcus Richardson briefed a 12-man reconnaissance patrol on their mission to Hill 319. Battalion headquarters was a reinforced bunker dug into a hillside. Lieutenant Marcus Richardson spread a map across a wooden crate. 12 men crowded into the space breath visible in the candlelight. Richardson traced a line on the map. Hill 319. Intelligence estimates 250 to 300 German soldiers. Fortified positions. Machine gun nests covering every approach. Our job is reconnaissance. Identify defensive positions. Report back. Do not engage unless compromised. He looked up at the assembled men. Division wants to assault this hill with 2 battalions. That's 2,000 men. If the Germans are as dug in as we think, casualties could be 40 to 50%. 800 men. We need to find a weak point. Tommy's role was simple. Designated marksman. Provide overwatch. Cover the patrol's withdrawal if discovered. But Tommy had other plans. In his pack, wrapped carefully in cloth, were 6 large russet potatoes, fresh from the mess hall that morning. Merrick's finally lost it, planning to cook dinner for the Krauts. Tommy hadn't explained. The idea was too unconventional, too absurd, too likely to be dismissed. He'd decided to try it in combat. If it failed, nobody would know. If it succeeded, the results would speak for themselves. The patrol moved out at 0300 hours. 12 men moving through frozen forest in darkness so complete that each soldier kept one hand on the pack ahead. They moved slowly. Mines were everywhere. Tommy carried his Springfield with the improvised scope and 6 potatoes that might change everything. Jimmy Castellano moved beside him. You actually brought those damn potatoes? Yeah. You gonna tell me what they're for? Deer hunting? We're hunting Germans, Tommy. Same principle. By 0430 hours, the patrol reached an observation point overlooking Hill 319, 300 yards from the nearest German positions. Dawn was still an hour away. Richardson went prone with binoculars. Tommy positioned himself beside the lieutenant rifle extended over a fallen log. Through his improvised scope, Tommy could see more than Richardson's binoculars could reveal. The German optics gathered light more efficiently. In the darkness, he could distinguish shapes, movement, individual soldiers. He watched the German morning routine, sentries changing shifts, soldiers emerging from bunkers, the ordinary patterns of troops who believed they were safely behind their own lines. Richardson whispered his observations. 3 machine gun positions visible, 2 probable command bunkers. This is going to cost us hundreds of men if we assault directly. He turned to Tommy. Merrick, maintain overwatch while we withdraw to report. This was the moment. Tommy removed a potato from his pack, used his combat knife to carve out the center in practiced motions. Left walls approximately 1 inch thick enough to absorb the muzzle blast, not so thick they would deflect the bullet. He secured the potato to the Springfield's barrel using friction tape and cloth strips. The attachment took 30 seconds. The other soldiers watched with confusion. Jimmy stared, started to speak. Tommy shook his head once. Not now. Tommy settled into firing position. Through his scope, he selected his first target. German sentry standing outside a command bunker, 230 yards, smoking a cigarette. Tommy settled the crosshairs on the sentry's chest, compensated for the slight crosswind. He took up slack on the trigger. exhaled half a breath, squeezed. The rifle recoiled, familiar against his shoulder, but the sound was wrong. Instead of the sharp crack that normally echoed through forests, there was only a muted pop, like a branch breaking under snow weight. Through the scope, Tommy watched the German sentry collapse. The cigarette fell, creating a small orange arc in the darkness. No alarm was raised. The other Germans couldn't identify the direction. They saw their comrade fall and assumed he'd slipped on ice. Men rushed toward him, concerned but not alarmed. Tommy worked the bolt, chambered another round. The potato had survived the first shot. He could smell burning starch, but it remained intact. His second target was a German soldier walking toward the fallen sentry. Moving target, walking slowly across Tommy's field of fire. Tommy led the target by approximately 2 feet. Accounting for walking speed and bullet flight time, fired. Another muted pop. The second German fell. Still no alarm. Confusion was spreading. 2 men down, no sound of gunfire, no muzzle flash. Officers were shouting questions. Tommy's third shot took a German soldier kneeling beside the bodies, trying to determine what happened. The bullet struck him in the upper back. He collapsed forward. Now panic was beginning. Germans were running. No one knew where the threat was coming from. Tommy quickly removed the degraded potato. It was smoking, the interior completely charred. He pulled a fresh potato from his pack, carved it with swift cuts, secured it to the barrel. 15 seconds. Richardson was staring at him now. "What the hell are you doing, Merrick?" "Killing Germans, sir." "With a potato?" "Yes, sir." "Keep shooting." Over the next 12 minutes, Tommy fired 17 times. 17 shots from the same position, each potato lasting 3 to 4 rounds. Each kill placed with precision. The Germans were in complete chaos. Men were falling with no warning, no sound that clearly indicated sniper fire, just soldiers dropping dead from an invisible threat. Tommy targeted officers first, then radio operators, then anyone who appeared to be restoring order. By 0500 hours, as dawn began breaking, Tommy had confirmed 29 kills, 3 missed shots. He'd used 4 potatoes, each lasting the expected 3 to 4 shots. The German position on Hill 319 was in ruins. Soldiers were fleeing, abandoning positions that had held for weeks. Officers had lost control. Richardson made a decision that violated his orders. "We're not withdrawing. We're taking that hill. Now, all of you on me. Merrick, keep shooting." The patrol moved forward, expecting resistance. They encountered almost none. The Germans who remained were either dead wounded or so demoralized they surrendered immediately, hands raised, eyes wide with fear. By 0600 hours, the patrol controlled Hill 319, a position that division headquarters had planned to assault with 2 battalions. An attack that would have cost 800 American casualties had fallen to 12 men led by a sniper with potatoes. Let me put this in perspective for you. The average American sniper in World War II achieved approximately 3/10 of 1 confirmed kill per day. Tommy Merrick on December 8th achieved 29 confirmed kills in 3 hours. That's not 3 times better, that's 97 times better. But Tommy didn't know it yet. The Germans had just sent their best counter-sniper specialist to the Hurtgen forest, Oberleutnant Klaus Richter. And Richter was very interested in the American ghost who killed without sound. Word spread through the 4th Infantry Division with remarkable speed. By evening, every sniper had heard about Merrick and his potato trick. Most were skeptical. Potatoes as weapon suppressors. It sounded like propaganda. But Lieutenant Richardson's official report was undeniable, confirmed by 11 patrol members, 29 casualties, Hill 319 captured, 0 American casualties. Division headquarters called Tommy for debriefing on December 9th. He demonstrated the technique, carved a potato, attached it to his rifle, fired 3 rounds at a target 200 yards away. The suppression was obvious, impossible to deny. Major General Raymond Barton personally observed. He questioned Tommy extensively about limitations. Effective range: about 300 yards maximum, sir. Beyond that, the bullet's supersonic crack is audible. How many shots per potato? 3 to 4, sir. Weather limitations: fresh potatoes only, sir. Frozen potatoes shatter. Weapon compatibility: bolt-action rifles only, sir. Barton nodded thoughtfully. Advantages: multiple shots from one position without sound location, sir. Enemy can't identify shooting direction. Psychological impact is devastating. Barton made his decision immediately. Lieutenant Harland at Camp Perry wrote joke answer in your file. I'm writing combat effective innovation. You'll train a team, 6 snipers, document everything. You'll have priority access to whatever you need. He paused, smiled slightly, including as many potatoes as division mess can provide. Tommy was promoted to staff sergeant, authorized to select 6 snipers, given operational latitude to employ the technique wherever warranted. That evening, Tommy briefed 6 selected snipers, all experienced marksmen. He showed them how to prepare the potatoes, how to carve the center, how to check moisture content, how to attach them securely. After test firing, their skepticism transformed into enthusiasm. Jimmy Castellano spoke for all of them. Tommy, you beautiful Idaho bastard, this actually works. The target for December 10th was a German observation post on Hill 347, 30 to 40 soldiers directing German artillery fire onto American positions. The 7-man sniper team moved into position at 0300 hours, established concealed hides 300 yards from the observation post. Tommy positioned himself covering the main bunker entrance. Other snipers covered alternate approaches. At 0400 hours, as German sentries emerged for shift change, Tommy began firing. The potato-suppressed Springfield delivered its distinctive muted pop. The first sentry fell, but the technique worked even better with multiple snipers. As Germans reacted to unexplained casualties, they moved into fields of fire covered by other team members. Each sniper worked methodically, precise shot placement, potato changes every 3 to 4 rounds. The sound pattern confused German defenders completely. Muted pops from multiple directions, each quiet enough to prevent precise location. This wasn't action movie violence. This was horror. Heavy darkness. Germans emerging from what they believed was a secure bunker, then watching comrades fall silently. No warning, no sound, just collapse. Imagine being a German soldier in that position. Your friend steps outside. He falls. No shot, no flash, no explanation. You rush out to help. You fall. Your squad leader tries to organize. He falls. Nobody knows where the killing is coming from. This wasn't warfare in any conventional sense. This was systematic execution from invisible positions. Over 2 hours, the sniper team fired 112 times total. 87 Germans confirmed killed or wounded. Tommy personally accounted for 31. His accuracy rate exceeded 90%. The American team received 0 return fire. The Germans never located the snipers, never organized an effective response. By noon, when the team returned to headquarters, Tommy's confirmed kill total had reached 68. 37 from before December. 31 from the past 2 days using the potato technique. In 3 days, he'd nearly doubled his total count. Intercepted radio communications showed complete German confusion. One decoded message read, "American snipers using unknown suppressed weapons conducting assassinations from impossible distances. Request immediate counter-sniper reinforcement and technical intelligence." German officers examined casualties, found standard 30-06 bullets, wounds consistent with conventional rifles, but soldiers swore the Americans were using silent weapons. The disconnect created confusion that paralyzed German command. On Hill 347, German investigators discovered scorched potato fragments. They photographed them, sent samples to technical evaluation units. The idea that Americans were using vegetables as suppressors seemed too absurd. German analysts concluded the potatoes were unrelated, probably from rations. The report stated, "Vegetable matter unrelated to suppression technology, likely coincidental." This intelligence failure would prove extraordinarily costly. Because they didn't understand the technique, they couldn't develop effective countermeasures. But on December 10th, a man arrived who would change everything. Oberleutnant Klaus Richter, 34 years old, German counter-sniper specialist, 47 confirmed kills, all Soviet snipers. He'd hunted them through Stalingrad, Belarus, Leningrad. Richter had been wounded in July 1944. Soviet sniper shot him through the right shoulder. The wound healed but left his shoulder aching in cold weather. He'd been transferred to the Western Front in October, officially to recover, unofficially because the Eastern Front was collapsing. He carried a photograph, his wife Greta and daughter Elsa, age 8, living in Bremen. The city was being bombed regularly now. Richter wasn't a fanatical Nazi. He was a career officer who believed he was defending his homeland, his family. His philosophy was simple: snipers are chess players. Patience defeats aggression. He arrived at Hill 347 on the afternoon of December 10th to investigate. 87 casualties. Most shot center mass from long range. But German soldiers had heard almost nothing. No clear rifle fire, no muzzle flashes, just men falling dead. Richter examined casualties methodically, recovered bullets, standard American ammunition, nothing special. He found the scorched potato fragments, photographed them, but couldn't make sense of their presence. His report reflected confusion. Enemy demonstrates exceptional capability, but suppression method unknown. Recommend deployment of experienced counter-sniper teams and immediate tactical adaptation. Richter deployed countermeasures starting December 11th. 15 German counter-snipers distributed across the sector. Erratic movement patterns. No predictable schedules, no exposure longer than 3 seconds. Double sentries, constant position rotation. His orders were specific. Never establish patterns. The Americans have an advantage we don't understand. Until we understand it, we must be unpredictable. And it worked. Richter's tactics significantly reduced the potato technique's effectiveness. Germans became harder targets. Multiple sentries made silent elimination impossible. Rotating positions meant Tommy couldn't establish firing solutions. By mid-December, effectiveness had dropped 60%. Tommy noted in his journal, December 13th, "Enemy has adapted. Countermeasures effective. Technique still works, but opportunities fewer." December 16th. Everything changed. The Battle of the Bulge began, Germany's last major offensive. Forces were pulled from the Hurtgen to support it. That morning, American artillery struck German positions across the sector. One shell hit Oberleutnant Klaus Richter's command post. Direct hit. The bunker collapsed. Richter and 3 other soldiers were killed instantly. He never discovered the truth about the potato technique, never knew the suppression technology was vegetables, never knew the innovation he respected was farm boy ingenuity. Klaus Richter died doing his duty, a competent enemy, a professional soldier. Tommy never knew Richter's name, never knew the counter-sniper hunting him had been killed by random artillery, never knew how close Richter had come to neutralizing the technique completely. War is like that sometimes. Random, arbitrary. December 11th through 20th. The potato technique continued across the 4th Infantry Division's sector. Tommy trained additional snipers, led missions that eliminated German strongpoints, but effectiveness was declining. German adaptation, weather turning colder potatoes freezing, supply problems. The Battle of the Bulge, pulling German forces away. By December 20th, Tommy's body was approaching its breaking point. He'd lost 14 pounds in 12 days, living in frozen foxholes where temperature never climbed above 15 degrees. His hands shook constantly, his vision blurred, his right shoulder was one massive bruise. 3 toes showed frostbite. Sleep came in fragments. 2 hours at most before hypervigilance yanked him back. The medical officer examined him December 18th. Severe exhaustion, cold injury risk high, acute stress reaction symptoms. I'm recommending immediate relief. Tommy refused. Still have ammunition, still have targets. I'm staying until the Hurtgen is ours. Jimmy Castellano tried reason. Tommy, you're running on fumes. Even machines need maintenance. Tommy continued cleaning his rifle. I'll rest when the war's over. Will you, though? Can you turn it off? Tommy didn't answer, because he didn't know. December 18th. 11:30 hours. The moment that would haunt Tommy for the rest of his life. He was observing a German artillery emplacement through his scope. 470 yards. A German soldier stood next to the gun. Forward observer based on equipment. High-value target. Tommy aimed center mass, began his trigger squeeze. At the last instant, a second German soldier walked into Tommy's line of fire. Younger, maybe 18, 19, carrying an ammunition crate, moving with the awkward gait of someone adjusting to military gear. Tommy's finger was already past the trigger break point. Too late to stop. The muted crack. The potato was on its 4th shot. Overused. The bullet struck the young German in the chest. Off-center. The kid fell crying out in German. Words universal. Pain. Fear. Calling for help. Through the scope, Tommy watched with terrible clarity. The forward observer ran to the wounded soldier, knelt beside him, exposed himself completely, trying to stop the bleeding, shouting for a medic. Tommy's crosshairs settled on the observer's back. Perfect shot. Stationary target. No wind. Tommy's finger returned to the trigger, but he didn't squeeze. He watched as 2 more Germans ran from cover, grabbed their wounded comrade, dragged him back, all 3 exposed. Easy targets. He didn't fire. Jimmy saw everything. Tommy, you had them. All 3. Why didn't you take the shots? Tommy lowered the rifle. His voice was flat, empty. I shot the wrong man. What? I was aiming for the observer. The kid walked into the path. I shot the wrong man. So, he's German. Still a valid target. Tommy looked at Jimmy. Raw emotion visible. He was 18, maybe 19. Probably conscripted 6 months ago. Probably has a mother wondering if her son is eating enough, staying warm, staying safe, and I shot him by accident. This is war, Tommy. Accidents happen. I know. That's what makes it worse. That night, Tommy wrote in his combat notebook by candlelight. December 18th, 1944. 73 confirmed kills. 1 I wish I'd missed. 1 that showed me these aren't just targets through a scope. They're sons, brothers, humans with families and futures I'm erasing. I don't regret fighting. I don't regret protecting American lives. But I'll carry that young German's face. Not because killing him was wrong. War makes killing necessary, because I know what his mother will never know. He died because he walked into a bullet meant for someone else. Random, senseless. That's war. That's what I'll remember. The war in Europe ended May 8th, 1945. Germany surrendered. The killing stopped. Tommy's final statistics: 137 confirmed kills, 37 conventional before December, 73 using potato technique, 27 more conventional afterward. The potato technique had been employed by over 40 American snipers. Estimated 300 German casualties. But it never again achieved the devastating effectiveness of those first 2 days. The element of surprise was gone. Tommy received his decorations: Silver Star, 2 Bronze Stars, Combat Infantryman Badge. The citations mentioned innovative techniques. They didn't mention potatoes. An Army historian interviewed Tommy May 20th. "How do you feel about killing 137 enemy soldiers?" "I don't think about it as 137. That's just a number. They were men. Each one was somebody's son. Most were conscripts who didn't choose this war. I killed soldiers who would have killed me if they'd seen me first. That's war. It's not heroic. It's not glorious. It's killing. I was good at killing. That doesn't make me proud. It makes me sad that the world needed me to be good at it." October 1945. Tommy returned to Coeur d'Alene. His father Samuel waited at the train station. 58 years old now, greyer, thinner. They embraced briefly. Samuel studied his son's face. "You made every shot count, every one, Dad. But it cost you." Tommy looked away. "I'll be all right." Samuel didn't push. Some burdens weren't meant to be shared, only carried. November 17th, 1945. Tommy married Margaret Thompson. Everyone called her Maggie. 23. School teacher. They'd known each other since childhood. Small ceremony. Tommy smiled. Danced. Seemed normal to everyone except Maggie. She noticed he woke at night, silently, staring at nothing. She asked once if he wanted to talk. "I did my duty and came home. That's all that matters." The nightmares began within a month, 2 to 3 times weekly, always the same, through the scope. German soldier number 23, young, 18-19. Tommy fires. The soldier falls. But in the dream, the soldier stands back up, looks directly at Tommy, speaks one word in German. "Warum?" Why Tommy would wake sweating. Maggie would hold him. Neither spoke. For 4 years, Tommy refused to hunt. The rifle that had provided food through his childhood stayed locked away. September 1948. Their son James was born. James Samuel Merrick, named after both grandfathers. Tommy held his newborn son, made a promise. "You'll grow up in peace, won't learn to shoot until you want to, not because you have to." But Samuel offered gentle pushback. "Shooting's not about killing Tommy. It's about discipline, patience, respect. Don't let the war take that from your boy." 3 years later, James, age 3, found an old photograph. Tommy and Samuel with a massive elk, both smiling. Simpler times. "Daddy, Grandpa, big deer." Tommy looked at the photo for a long time. "I'm letting the war steal something my father gave me. Can't let that happen." Fall 1951. Tommy and Samuel went hunting together. First time in 6 years. They found elk at dawn, 200 yards. Tommy raised the rifle, aimed. For a moment, the elk's chest looked like a German uniform. Tommy's finger froze. Then the moment passed. This wasn't war. This was hunting. Tommy fired. Clean kill. "I can do this again. It's not the same. Hunting isn't war." Samuel put his hand on his son's shoulder. Said nothing. Sometimes understanding doesn't need words. 1958. Tommy began teaching 10-year-old James to shoot. .22 rifle, paper targets. Make every shot count, James. Not because ammunition is expensive, because precision is character. Respect the tool. Never take pride in destruction. Take pride in control. Years passed quietly. Tommy ranched, occasionally guided hunting trips. Neighbors knew he'd been a sniper. Few knew specifics. None knew about potatoes or 73 silent kills. 1992. Tommy was 72. A letter arrived from Germany. Sender Hans Richter. Tommy stared at the envelope before opening it. Dear Mr. Merrick, I am researching my father's military service. Oberleutnant Klaus Richter, counter-sniper specialist, killed December 16, 1944, Hurtgen Forest. I discovered your unit operated in the same sector. Did you know my father? Any information would mean a great deal. Respectfully, Hans Richter. Tommy spent a week deciding whether to respond. Dear Hans, I didn't know your father personally, but I fought against men like him. Your father was a counter-sniper specialist. I was an American sniper. We were enemies doing our duty. I don't know if I ever shot at your father. I don't know if he ever shot at me. The forest was chaos. What I know is your father was a soldier following orders same as me. The war demanded we kill each other. The peace demands we remember each other with respect. Your father died in combat. That's honorable. Sons should know their fathers. Respectfully, Thomas Merrick. The correspondence continued over 9 years. In 2001, Hans asked about the American ghost weapons his father had mentioned. Tommy typed his response. Potatoes. We use potatoes as improvised sound suppressors. Your father was trying to solve a technical mystery. The answer was vegetables. War is absurd that way. Hans replied. My father would have laughed, then immediately started experimenting. I think you and my father had more in common than either knew. Tommy's last letter came late 2001. Your father faced worthy opponents. We respected each other enough to try our hardest to kill each other. That respect matters. Hans's final letter. Thank you for helping me understand. Your words bring comfort. Tommy told Maggie. Maybe I can sleep better now. 2000 to 2003. Tommy's health declined. Congestive heart failure. Age 82. He refused assisted living. I'll die on my land like my father did. 2002. Tommy donated his military items to the Army Heritage and Education Center, Silver Star, after-action reports, combat notebook, photographs. He included a sealed envelope. Open only after my death. August 18th, 2003. Tommy died peacefully at home. Maggie holding one hand, James the other. His last words to James. I'm proud of what I did. I carry what it cost. Both are true. The funeral drew over 400 people. Per Tommy's request, no military honors, no gun salute, no flag ceremony. Bury me as a rancher and neighbor, not as a warrior. The obituary was brief. Thomas Samuel Merrick, 83, died Monday. World War II veteran. Served as sniper in Europe. Received Silver Star. Most readers had no idea they were reading about one of the war's most innovative combat soldiers. The Army Heritage Center opened the sealed envelope. To whoever reads this, the potato technique worked because it was simple, unexpected, and solved a specific problem. 73 men died from it. I saved perhaps 200 American lives. I would do it again if necessary. I wish it had never been necessary. The technique was effective. The memories don't fade. War makes you choose between bad and worse, then live with choosing. I'm proud I saved our boys. I'm sorry for theirs. That contradiction is the truest thing I know about combat. But don't call me a hero. Heroes are the ones who didn't come home. Thomas Samuel Merrick, Staff Sergeant, United States Army. Today, Tommy's improvised scope sits in the Army Heritage and Education Center. His combat notebook is open to December 8, 1944. The placard reads, S.J. Thomas S. Merrick, Field Expedient Optical Assembly and Improvised Sound Suppression. Hurtgen Forest, December 1944. 73 confirmed kills using technique. Estimated 200 American casualties prevented. Testament to American ingenuity under fire. In 2018, a Navy SEAL instructor wrote in his course manual, "Before we had titanium suppressors, an Idaho farm boy used potatoes." 73 confirmed kills. Remember that innovation doesn't always come from laboratories. Sometimes it comes from necessity and refusing to accept that limitations mean defeat. That's SSG Thomas Merrick's legacy. Modern special operations forces worldwide employ suppressed weapons as standard equipment. The psychological advantage of silent kills that Tommy proved in 1944 has become foundational doctrine. But perhaps the truest measure of Tommy's legacy isn't in museums or doctrines. It's in how he lived after the war. He came home, married his sweetheart, raised his son, worked his ranch, taught his granddaughter to shoot paper targets with patience and precision. He carried the weight privately, honored the dead silently, lived with the contradiction that both pride and sorrow could be true simultaneously. He was a farm boy from Idaho who learned to kill efficiently using potatoes and scavenged optics. Then he learned to live honorably with that efficiency. 137 confirmed kills, 200 American lives saved. 58 years carrying the weight with dignity. That's Staff Sergeant Thomas Samuel Merrick, not just because he killed efficiently, but because he lived honorably, because he understood that both truths mattered, because he taught us that carrying necessary burdens without complaint is the quietest form of heroism. We remember, we honor, we tell his story, because